Yeah, everybody making their way around onto the grid then. Mark Fox just getting into the outfit once again, or onto the outfit, as the passenger is Mark Fox. But we do have the green flag at the back then. So Lottie says, all eyes to the lights. The revs rise, engage that first gear, clutches in, drop the clutch, the lights are out. And I'll tell you what, it's almost 3 wide there because there's a little bit of bumping and barging. But Jim Fayers and Mark Fox really got their elbows out and will take the whole shot as they go in towards Coppis for the first time of asking there. Looks like it could well have been the 100 or the 101 machine. So Holland or Wakely, hard to tell from this distance because they are very similarly coloured machines. But it will be Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, I believe there, Keith, on the AW Racing Ride Triumph who lead the way.
Yeah, most certainly are. Mark tucked in the back there, desperately trying to get out of the slipstream, and they charge up the hill. It is indeed the championship leaders who are leading the way at this early stage of the race. Championship leaders in the F2s are Lambert, Jevons and King. The Fayers and Fox lead Wakely and Hilditch by just 88 points coming into this round. So they need to get every single point they can if they want to maintain that advantage. And yesterday it was definitely all Wakely and Hilditch as they come down the hill. It is Fayers and Fox. Fayers going very defensive into Mansfield. He's fearing a challenge there. It's, as you say, unfortunately the Wakely outfit is very similar in colour to his teammate, so we are struggling just a little bit to see if that's Ben or Eddie at the front. But certainly in the very front it is Fayers and Fox who lead the way up the hill there. See a lot of the rain lights on, so we saw that yesterday in the absolute bone dry conditions as well. I think they just like to dazzle their opposition. Over the top they'll be going then through the Hall bends, and Fayers and Fox with that Triumph powered machine. Not quite sure what sort of engines we've got in the back of the other outfits. Don't know if that's listed on our program at all, actually. Yeah, no, it just tells me it's WPS racing with the right.
We've got a retirement already at the end of lap number 1, and it's going to be the number 101 of Wakely and Hilditch, who took the win and second position yesterday. They were in second place as they went into the Woodland section, but they are back into the pits. So the 101 of Eddie Wakely and Anne Hilditch, they have retired from this race. Not sure what's the matter with that outfit, but both of the driver and passenger are out and having a look down. So we'll hopefully get information on that one shortly. But it's Fayers and Fox who lead with 1.1 second advantage over Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens. Then it's the first of the Formula 2s up into third place overall, and I believe that's Greg Lambert with Andy Javens in the chair this time.
I tell you what, it's a great start by Greg, showing that little nimble F2 outfit can really match it with the F1s around here. Obviously they're similarly powered these days. The long wheelbase ones in theory handle a little bit better, but the nimble F2s very quick indeed. Now I'm watching Ben Holland there, seeing if he can close that gap to James Fayers in front of him. Fayers again, unusual line into Mansfield. He definitely could pick up a little bit more time there if he didn't go quite so defensive. I don't think he needs to be that defensive. Trouble is, of course, I don't think there's a lot of signalling between the passenger and the driver. I keep meaning to ask the teams about this, but it looks to me as though Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens definitely closing that gap as they go to the bottom of the mountain once again. It looked like it was going to be a Fayers and Fox benefit. Great, not a good way for birthday boy Anne Hilditch, because the trouble is if you're sitting in the pits there, you're going to be watching your main championship rivals pick up some solid points here if they can maintain this lead at the moment. Going to wait for them to come out of the jungle that is at the back of the mountain there, and it looks like we've got a serious battle for the lead here, doesn't it, Bradley?
Yeah, we really have there, because Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens are using all the track on the exit of barn there. Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, they've got half a second of London. Stevens have gone quicker. They've gone purple on that lap, 1 minute 40.7. There's Lambert and Jevons ahead of Ferrance and Parkin, and that is only a gap of 0.8 of a second between the first of the Formula 2s. So I'm looking further down the order there. The third of the Formula 3s will be the 22 of Lithgow and Stewart, as the number 15 of Bainborough and Roberts don't appear to have come back across the line. So the number 15 machine there, Keith, of Stuart Bainborough and Jake Roberts, they haven't come across the line at the end of lap number 2. And looking further down the order then, there comes the number 148, of Berry and Berry, ahead of Petman and Leach. Peach and Edwards up next, ahead of the number 20 of Driscoll and Wheeler, but the race leader's already into the gooseneck. What's the gap?
Yeah, it's about 3 or 4 bike lengths, and again, James goes very, very tight on the Mansfield. I think he's fearing an attack into Mansfield. Maybe he knows that Ben Holland is strong there or something, not quite sure, but he does really compromise his exit from that corner. And that actually, all that does, of course, is allow Ben Holland to get right up behind him. Looks like Greg Lambert's holding on to the third place in the race very well. In fact, he's opening up the gap to his rivals just behind him. A lot of chatter on the radio, so
yeah,
not quite sure.
I think we're just looking out the window there and see a few spots of rain, very light at the moment again. But we'll keep an eye on it. Nothing at the moment that will, lose any grip for the sidecars as we look up towards Barn once again. Fayers and Fox led the way as they went in towards Hall Bends. And again, they're leading as they come out of Barn now, being watched on by Eddie Wakely and Anne Hilditch. Lap number 3 complete, 5 to go, and the gap has opened up now to 0.8 of a second. But interestingly enough, they're both in the 42s this time around, whereas 1 lap ago it was in the 40s and the 41s. There goes Greg Lambert ahead of Patrick Ferrans by 0.9 of a second, so they're lapping relatively the same, only half a tenth between their lap times on that previous lap. Morfitt and Coppup aren't too far adrift either, third of the Formula 2s on the number 37 outfit. They're only just over a second behind the number 74 of Ferrans and Parkin, but they're already through Charlie's 2 now. I think that's, we've got the battle for the lead in the Formula 1s as well as the Formula 2s.
I thought Ferrans and Parkin were actually slipping a little bit further back from Lambert there, but coming past me that time, the gap has definitely come down by a few bike lengths, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a challenge from them. Obviously, the advantage of chasing the guys in front is the guys in front of them, the first ones who are going to find out where the slippery bits are, so that definitely gives you the advantage as far as confidence goes, and you can just power on that a little bit harder through the corners. If the guy in front's not having a problem, why should you? So that will allow them to close up a little bit. This battle and the F1s is coming out of the chicanes now, and again it's still just a couple of machine lengths as they power out. Once again, James Fayers is very, very defensive, and all of a sudden, actually, Ben Holland's dropped back there, is he?
We've got the white flag with the red cross, and that is to signal to these guys that there is rain. So I can see we do have it on the start-finish straight. We've got it going into Coppice and the bottom of the mountain now. Barry's just going to step outside and assess the weather conditions at this stage, but I'm looking up towards Barn once again. We do have 3 laps complete. We are coming up to the end of lap number 4 now, and that will be half race distance, so 4 laps down shortly with 4 to go. So Fayers and Fox, they had a 0.8 of a second advantage over Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens, and safe to say that they're not pushing on quite as hard as what they were just a lap or 2 ago. So across the line, it was a 42 lap time around. This time it's a 1 minute 56. Not sure what's happened there. Greg Lambert is pointing frantically up at the sky. So Greg Lambert is signaling that there is quite a bit of rain.
The rain doesn't feel too heavy at the back here, but obviously we've got different sections of the circuit. The trouble is being in these machines going at 150 miles an hour is you are going to be getting a lot of rain on your visor. Sorry to interrupt as well. Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens haven't come across the line.
Yeah,
they look like they dropped back coming out of the chicane a lot last time. Left 2 outfits are powering past me, and I tell you what, Ferrans is having a good look at Lambert. Again, I think he had that psychological. I don't think he's as scared of the wet as maybe Greg is, or worried about the wet as Greg is. Again, he's watching the outfit in front of him, knows that that's sliding down. I do think that maybe they're worried that the race is going to get called very shortly, and the positions decided as they are, so rather than wait till the 7th lap to overtake, could be a good idea to find your way in front. I'll tell you what else is happening is that lead that Fayers and Fox had over that group of F2 outfits, those very close group of 4 F2 outfits, that's coming down drastically. James is just coming out of the chicane now, you can see that, and here come the 4 of the F2 outfits being led by Greg Lambert, and that gap has definitely come down a long way, hasn't it, Bradley?
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. I'm just looking, looks as though that rain flag has just gone in from the bottom of the mountain as well, as Jim Fayers and Mark Fox make their way up in towards the Hall Bends now. They're going about 10 seconds slower in the first sector, but weirdly enough, Jim and Ben Gale, they've gone personal best in the first sector as well, so keep your eye on the number 96. They've gone about 2 seconds quicker than King and Saunders in front of them, and with a 5.5 second gap to close, they have the bit between their teeth, and they're just willing to risk it all, it seems, on the number 96 KTM powered outfit. So here comes Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, number 65. They're across the line now to complete lap number 5. There goes Greg Lambert, Patrick Ferrans, and side by side between Ross Buchanan and Charlie Morfitt, but it will be advantage for Charlie Morfitt, will he? No, they're still side by side as they go in towards Coppice, and Ross Buchanan just about edges out Charlie Morfitt and Dave Coppup there. So the 83 still leads to number 37, but there was was only half a tenth in it as they went in towards Coppice that time around. But Fayers and Fox, their lead is being closed rapidly because it's now down to 3.2 seconds. Greg Lambert is on the charge here, and he's bringing along Ferrance and Buchanan and Morfitt as well.
Yeah, I thought that Greg Lambert was maybe a little bit psyched out by the rain, but clearly he's shrugged that one off, and he's absolutely powering down because all of a sudden Patrick Ferrance is not actually challenging him, but he will be challenging James Fayers and Mark Fox. They're coming through the gooseneck now. The gap is down to probably a dozen or so bike lengths as that long F1 effort. Again, James going very, very defensive there. Somebody's cutting the chicane there. Just a little bit of a break like up.
Peach and Edwards there, I believe.
Oh, have a look at the gap here, mate. Coming out of the chicane, it's got down to about 4 bike lengths, I reckon.
Have a look at the gap. What gap? Greg Lambert is right there with him, isn't he, as they go into the bottom of the mountain. So Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, they're through the left, over to the right now, and through the woodlands. You would have assumed that the Formula 2 will be a little bit more nimble and agile compared to that of the Formula 1. So the longer bike, the Formula 1 for Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, and then the shorter bike, the Formula 2 for Greg Lambert, as they go out of sight through the woodlands once again. So 2.5 seconds quicker in the first sector for Greg Lambert compared to Jim Fayers, and Patrick Ferrance, Buchanan, Morfitt all right there with him as well. So here they come out of barn, and they've got some tail enders coming into play as well. So at the moment, Jim Fayers leads the way from Greg Lambert, but Greg Lambert is in the slipstream there. No up challenge. Patrick Ferrance up the inside. In fact, he does. Greg Lambert, or the Illuminous Pink number 69, moves up the inside of Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, and we have a new race leader on with 2 laps to go, Keith. The Formula 2 of Greg Lambert leads the way.
He certainly does, mate. We've got some more back markers to play with here as he comes onto the straight. And this gaggle of 5 bikes has now got very close indeed. They are literally line astern with about 2 or 3 bike lengths between each one of them. And they're charging up towards Park. We've got the back markers there that's got to be contended with. And you can see why Greg Lambert is so good at teaching this. I think Greg was asking for the race to be cancelled or to be stopped earlier. I think now he'd be absolutely delighted to be ahead of the field. He's going to come around Chris Kerr, and he's going to extend that gap between himself and his rival. Down the hill they come, and Fayers goes wide there, and Ferrance has gone up the inside, and so is Buchanan Evans, and I think James is struggling with the brakes there. That's wobbling a lot as they go down the hill. So all of a sudden the F2s have shown a clean set of time. Oh, it looks like Fayers though is charging back, and I think he's punching his way past on Morfitt there. I think Morfitt's had to take to the chicane. It's all very chaotic down there.
That was Patrick Ferrance who's went through the chicane there. I see that they came back onto the circuit and just parked their machine in front of the 65 of Jim Fayers and Mark Fox. So certainly making their presence felt. And Jim Fayers and Mark Fox have just, it looks like they've fallen behind the 37 of Morfitt and Kopov as well as they went over the top of the mountain. So through they go then, out of sight. And the rain flags have all been put away now. No rain here. Excellent for the time being, at least anyway. But we're coming around now to complete lap number 7. So we're starting the final lap, and Ross Buchanan and Adam Evans, the number 83, that's sidecar wheels all over the grass on the exit of Barn. And I'll tell you what it could be as well, Keith, is that Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, they may have had a look around and seen that the 4 outfits there are all Formula 2s, so they will know that they're still the leading Formula 1.
Yeah, they probably will know that. Now, maybe they decided to let these guys get on with their own fight. And I tell you what, Ross Buchanan and Adam Evans, they really want to have a piece of Greg and Andy ahead of them. They've got that gap down to 2 or 3 bike lengths. I think the others are a little bit too far to be worrying at it. We'll wait and see if we're going to see a challenge. There's certainly Greg Lambert there. What a remarkable ride by Greg. He really has put the pace in there. Let's see if he can claim an overall win. I think it could be the first overall win certainly we've seen from him this year. Another back marker might come into play as well at just the wrong moment into Mansfield. They've caught the back marker there at the top of the gooseneck. This could play nicely into, no, it doesn't work for anybody, unfortunately, for anybody looking for a change there. It's still going to be Lambert and Javens who are going to power their way out of Mansfield up towards the chicane. Buchanan and Evans are running out of time. Realistically, you've got one more shot on the bottom of the mountain because passing in the solo, as you mentioned earlier, is difficult. Passing in the sidecar is nigh on impossible. They're pushed on, they can't find their way through. Buchanan and Evans would love to pull one over on their TT rivals, of course, as Lambert and Javens are as well. They disappear out of sight across the top there. I think you're right about Fayers and Fox. I think they've said, you know what, let's just take it easy there and let's bring it to the line. What do you reckon, mate?
So yeah, as they went in towards the bottom of the mountain, it was Greg Lambert who was basically in the middle of the circuit. pocket, so he couldn't go defensive and wasn't attacking either. But here they come out of barn, driving for the line now, and it is Greg Lambert who takes the Formula 2 and overall victory ahead of Ross Buchanan, who is slapped on the back immediately by his passenger Adam Evans, as they take second position at 20 points in the Formula 2s, ahead of Patrick Ferrance and Parkin as well. So Ferrance and Parkin complete the podium ahead of Morfitt and Kopok. And then Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, they led the race for such a long time, completing the top 5 overall, but still 25 points within the Formula 1s. That is your top 5 all across the line. Next up, and behind by quite some margin there, but still 5th in the class, 6th overall for the number 33 machine of that is Shipley and James. So they're going up through the gearbox now and across the line to take 5th position in class and 6th position overall. So already across the line as well, albeit a lap down. There's Berry and Berry with Petman and Leach, and the number 20 of Driscoll and Wheeler across the line now to complete the top 10 in the Formula 2s a lap down. There goes Jim and Ben Gale on their KTM powered outfit, and almost side by side there with the 22 of Lithgow and Stewart. 26 across the line, that's King and Saunders. They lost a position on that final lap, and in fact they put in a 1 minute 59.